Hello everyone, today I'd like to talk about Peter Frampton. Now, for Peter Frampton, I learned about him and his music through this song. Okay, it's Baby I Love Your Way. However, the first time I heard this song was not by Peter Frampton, believe it or not. It was by a group called Big Mountain. And they did a cover version of Baby I Love Your Way that became a monster hit in, I'd say, mid 90s, 94, 95, 96? No, let's say 95. It became a monster hit. It's a kind of like a reggae cover, had a reggae vibe to it. And it was made for the soundtrack, I think it was Reality Bites. So that was being played quite a bit, Big Mountain's version, and again, I like that version and it was played quite a bit. Now, I think the classic rock radio station at the time was trying to piggyback off of that popularity by Big Mountain's cover version. That's when I heard this version by Peter Frampton. And then I kind of put two to two together and realized, okay, Peter Frampton's probably the original artist, and that song you heard is just the original version of it. So when I once I get to know the artist and their song, I usually start to notice their other songs. And really, the only other song I heard on the classic rock radio station was "Show Me the Way." That's it. So I only know two. I only knew two songs by Peter Frampton at the time, and it wasn't until I think Circuit City, late '90s or so, they were clearancing out some CDs, and I finally had to get my parents to help me get this Peter Frampton, the classics, A&M Classics one. So this is his greatest hits, essentially, without the greatest hits moniker on it. But listening to this album, took it home, I recognized the two songs right away when they got played, right? Show Me the Way and Baby I Love Your Way. Now, the rest, I have to say, first of all, I've never heard of the rest. I never heard of the songs. And second of all, to me, they were pretty mid. I mean, they're just typical rock music of the 70s at the time, or sounded like it, but nothing either from the song or from like the guitar playing or anything like that stood out to me. They just sounded just mid, okay? I don't think they're bad or anything. They're the type that goes, you listen to one ear and it just goes out the other ear and you never really notice it. Me anyway. Outside of one other song, and it happened to be the last song on here, and it was called Do You Feel Like We Do? Okay. The long version. Now, after a few repeated listenings, I only like three songs on his greatest hits. And it was those three, right? Show Me the Way, Baby I Love Your Way, and Do You Feel Like We Do? And I noticed in the back, when I was like kind of reading the booklet and the cover, the dates, that those three songs were the only songs on here that were the live versions. And it came from FCA, Peter Frampton Comes Alive. So I'd say many years later, I'd say early to mid 2000s, I finally decided to get the album Frampton Comes Alive. Okay. Damn. Besides the three songs that are on the greatest hits that I know of and liked, the whole album was damn good. Every song on here had its own different vibe or energy that just is unmatched. And what I mean by that, there are two songs, I think, if I recall, that are on both of these albums. I think they're Doobie Wah and All I Want to Be Is By Your Side. Those two songs on here are also on here, but the two songs on here are the studio versions, while the two songs on here are the FCA versions. And just by listening to both versions, this one comes out ahead, hands down. I mean, there's like in FCA, when Peter Frampton's doing the live versions of his songs, it just feels different, totally different. And this is just coming out from the same CD player, same receiver, same speakers. The songs you can tell are just different. It feels much faster, the tempo at least. And the vibe, it feels like there's a lot more energy. Maybe there's a lot more instrumentals going on, that maybe extra guitar here, extra guitar, I don't know exactly what, in the FCA version, the Frampton Comes Alive version, as opposed to the studio stuff. I don't, it just, wow. I mean, I was so impressed with FCA that when I saw this on sale, clearance as well, when I forgot which shop, maybe Circuit City again. Let's say it's Circuit City and they were going out of business. I had to pick this up. This is the DVD audio version. Now, I wish this was the SACD, but my player can play both. So I picked this up, the DVD audio 5.1 channel, remastered and everything. It's fantastic, no doubt about it. So now, it took me many years later when I had a buddy whose dad had a lot of records, vinyl, and it turned out when I was at his place one time and I kind of looked at his dad's record collection, an album stood out to me, and it was just called Frampton, okay? And I think that was his first album, solo album, maybe his second, I don't recall. When I had my buddy put it on the turntable and he played it. And there were two songs I recognized right away, Show Me the Way and Baby I Love Your Way. Those two songs were on that album. For some reason, first of all, I thought it was going to be live, me being a idiot or something. I thought it's going to be the live version that I'm used to. But no, it wasn't. It was actually the studio version, and I didn't know there were studio versions of those songs. Okay, believe it or not, I never knew until I saw that record. I don't think I ever recall hearing the studio versions as well, either on radio or something like that. It's always been the live versions, the FCA version. And when I listened to that album, specifically those two songs, I could tell right away the live version is just the superior version. There seems to be, as I mentioned earlier, the tempo seems to be a little faster. Maybe because there's a lot more energy and a lot more stuff going on. And obviously there's the crowd effect too, but take the crowd effect away, just kind of minimize it to the music alone. The FCA is just superior. The studio version I heard. Now, granted, I listened to that album, that vinyl, on maybe a set of speakers or something that wasn't all that good, or and I'm not gonna diss my buddy's music equipment or anything, but I don't know, it just sounded bland. And again, usually I would take that into consideration, the music coming out from the speakers and so forth, but it just sounded bland. No other way to explain it. So I got home, and this is the YouTube days, in its infancy, and then I googled around, and someone actually had the album again, to that same album, but ripped on YouTube, posted on YouTube, and I played it, and yeah, I played it through my own speaker set, headphones really, and my headphones were good, so I could tell right away, unless the recording was bad too. It might be, but it might have at that time, but it was just bland. And now I'm thinking, is it just maybe it's production, like how they produce it in studio, that sounds bland compared to the live, and maybe the production team who did the live was just superior, that it made the live version just sound a lot better. Could be, I don't know, but just comparing, like, literally side by side, song by song, and it just sounded a lot faster, not a lot faster, but a bit faster, and just seemed a lot more stuff going on, more energy, more oomph to it in the FCA as opposed to the studio recordings. And that got me thinking, for Peter Frampton, and maybe there are quite a bit of artists like him, that they're just better live than studio. I mean, Many years later, after all this, I listened to "Do You Feel Like What We," that "Do You Feel Like What We Do," and I listened to the studio version. It sounds different. I mean, it sounds quite a bit different. Yeah, get rid of the talk box or whatever that is that they were using. But even then, just the music itself, the song itself is just slower, bland when compared to the FCA version. So maybe to me, I think artists like Peter Frampton, with being live and with the crowd, and maybe there's more leeway to doing their music, they're just better live. I mean, there's a lot of artists that do stuff live that's a little bit different than the studio version, and it might sound better, but usually the studio versions are already good. I mean, they're hits and they're right, and then they just kind of expand on it live. In Peter Frampton's case, I think his studio music is just bland across the board. Even those three hits, "Show Me the Way," "Baby I Love Your Way," "Do You Feel Like We Do," those three songs, studio version wise, are just bland. If that was actually playing on the radio, I probably wouldn't have liked it as much, right? So I'm just thinking like Peter Frampton specifically, but I'm sure there are other artists out there that they're just better live, hands down. And again, it could be the energy in the crowd or something. They're just better performing that way. And my advice was and is for Peter Frampton and artists like that, if you're going to do albums in the future, I wish Peter Frampton did this, but if you're going to do albums in the future or at the time, and you do them in the studio, and then you figure out everything that you like and you play it, and it's done, complete, and you've got your songs that you would like to put on an album. When you finish, stop right there. Stop right there. Don't release those to the public at all. Don't put it on an album and release it to the public. Immediately set up concert venues across the country, and then take that what you just recorded and do it live, and then record that, and then make that your album. That's to me what Peter Frampton should have done with his albums, and as well as any other artists that maybe are better live than in studio. That's my suggestion anyway. I wish Peter Frampton put out more live albums in his heyday. I know he put out Peter Frampton Comes Alive 2. That came out in the early 90s or so. I've listened to that. Problem is, a lot of the songs just, I don't know if it's a more acoustic setting or I don't know what it was, but it did not have that same energy as FCA, in my opinion. And maybe because the songs are just like that. But in his heyday, okay, in the 70s, after Humble Pie, right? Peter Frampton should have just, every song you create in the studio, do not release it, book a tour, do it live, and then release the live version. I think he would have been a lot more successful if he did it that way than what he's done. But nevertheless, Peter Frampton's stuff is pretty good. Again, I got no complaints on it. To me, it's really those three songs and the live versions of it that really make Peter Frampton Peter Frampton. And anyway, tell me what you think. All right, thank you. Bye.